Anyways, I can't tell you everything we talked about because I found out who he is and what he did, his job in Israel.
Oh,
Very
wow.
interesting. Very serious guy. He says to me, you know what, though? The Israelis community right now is very happy with Joe Biden. I said, really? Tell me why. He says,
Why would
because
they be happy with Joe Biden?
He's got our back, and he's shown so many great things he's doing. You know, Blinken is going there, and he went and shook hands with Netanyahu, and, you know, they're showing support, and they're with us, and they're saying pro-Israel, and they're saying this. And even Jean-Pierre, you know, came out and said a couple words.
So went over there and kissed the
She
wall.
went after the squad.
That's right, which is kind of weird, right?
Crazy.
So, okay, so you're sitting there, you're like,
I don't think it's that crazy.
you know, maybe the center people are like, okay, these guys sound normal, right? Okay, so let's play dark. Did you need something like this for you to create a war to the point where the re-election percentage of a president goes so high when there's a war so you can get re-elected? Maybe. Is it because the amount of chaos you learned in 2020 the elections was so chaotic?
Hold on. That's a really good question. Did they need October 7th to happen to keep Netanyahu in power so that they could have their master plan? I think that's a fair question.
Being able to win another election because the more chaotic it was, you can tell people what we're going to be doing, and they're already accustomed to it. Maybe they'll be more open-minded to it. Maybe. Is it because maybe even on the other side, for me, that I think about Netanyahu and Israel? First of all, who has the best secret intelligence in the world?
Mossad.
You mean to tell me?
No.
You mean to tell me?
Does
these
Einstein
guys
have a lot to do with that?
Underground for a year,
Nope.
built a city like the one in Israel, and they trained their guys to go in and how to break into homes and how to take people hostage. And you're telling me you didn't know? Seriously? And Egypt comes out. By the way, the story came out. It's like, well, you know, we told them, we warned them that something was taking place. Another story came out about
So
Egypt.
they got
Brian,
warned
if you
by
tell me what
Egypt.
page it's on.
Then they said they didn't. They're going back and forth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they're saying
Now
they
they're
did. You're
scared.
like, so make up your mind. Did you know or did you not know? So what is really going on? So then I go a layer deeper, and I'll turn it over to you. Is, okay, did Israel almost, you know, because I'm talking to this other guy, and he says, I said, you realize what happened in 2014? He says, yeah. I said, 2014 when they, you know,
What happened in
three
2014?
girls were kidnapped, and then, you know, whatever happened, raped, travesty,
Horrible.
and then Israel comes back and kills 2,000 people. He said it should have been 20,000.
Whoa.
It should have been 200,000. So I said, where are you going with this? He says, well, listen, here's what I'd like to see happen in Israel. What's that? Only Jews live in Israel. Nobody else. We don't need to coexist. It's just not going to work out. Is this a way for Netanyahu's legacy to be he eliminated Hamas? Is this his way for saying, now I got the war, I got the card, I got the, you know,
Mandate.
get out of jail card for me to
Was that
go
Charlie chiming in
straight
saying
up.
mandate?
100,000 on the blockade of Gaza Strip, 300,000 reservists you put up there. Now we're going to go groundwork. We're going all.
See, I don't watch Patrick Bet-David's content too much, but I'm really curious to see if he's still speaking the same way since Charlie got killed. You know, like some of these guys that weren't really afraid to talk about this and ask these questions publicly, who is kind of changing their tune? And that's a serious question. I'm not implying anything. I'm not trying to be subtle or subliminal or anything, because I only watch him, you know, I don't watch him specifically for him. You know, I'm familiar with his content, but it's usually episodes like this when it's somebody else that I'm interested in seeing what they have to say that I watch him. And I think that he's a very smart guy. Patrick Bet-David, he's a very intelligent guy, and he knows his shit. Maybe I should watch him. You know, I'm gonna give him a chance. I'm gonna watch him a little more. I'm really curious to find out what he's saying about all this these days, especially with these new Einstein files.
Freaking out because the world gave us the permission to do so. Is that what it is? I don't know. I just keep continuing to have a lot of questions the more I think about it, because so these guys are coming up. So what, are we going to have another 9/11? And they're going to come and do what? They're going to go into your community. What are they going to target next? Where are they going to go next? What's going to happen next? Oh, can we? It's not a big deal. It's never happen again. Well, that's what we thought it was never going to happen. 9/11. Before 9/11 happened, nobody thought 9/11 was going to happen.
Yep.
So I just have way too many questions.
You know who did think 9/11 was going to happen? Benjamin Netanyahu.
That makes me think about what the motives are. And if we go dark, I'll put all those things out there.
Yeah.
How did these guys not know this was taking place?
So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still have the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that is an IDF soldier, right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets.
Why?
Because Bibi Netanyahu is basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an
was he
exaggeration,
now?
right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order?
And for the record, we found out there was. Claims from some former soldiers and observers that troops were instructed to cancel border patrols or stand down between 5:20 and 9 a.m. on October 7th, 2023. Duration. Some allegations claim this stand down lasted for 6 to 8 hours or 7 hours, as suggested by former U.S. National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Alleged motivation. Some critics suggest this was a deliberate action, implying that the Israeli government, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, might have allowed the attack to occur. Context of failure. Many observers, including Israeli intelligence and military officials, have admitted to a massive failure of intelligence, surveillance, and operational readiness rather than a deliberate stand down. Official investigation. The Israeli government has not confirmed any such stand down order, and it remains a point of contention rather than established fact. The focus of most investigations has been on the severe intelligence failures and the lack of readiness. The Hannibal directive. Another more documented aspect of the day is the alleged use of the Hannibal directive. What it is, a controversial and officially revoked in 2016 IDF protocol designed to prevent the capture of soldiers by any means necessary, sometimes interpreted as the Hannibal Directive. What it is, a controversial and officially revoked in 2016 IDF protocol designed to prevent the capture of soldiers by any means, sometimes interpreted as authorizing the use of significant force even if it risks the lives of captives. Now, what that means is what it sounds like, that they would rather put down their own people than allow them to be kidnapped by the enemy. Application on October 7th. Investigations include by Harrods and a UN commission suggested that the IDF ordered the Hannibal directives to be used on October 7th to prevent Hamas from bringing captives back to Gaza. This, according to reports, may have led to the deaths of some Israeli hostages and civilians. Impact. A report by Harrods indicates that from noon on October 7th, the directive was applied with orders for the area around the border to be closed off, which some sources say led to a mass Hannibal situation. So when we look at these statistics that over 1,200 people died, over 5,000 injuries, and over 250 hostages, including deaths and hostages from American citizens, that there was allegedly a stand down order where they did not patrol the way that they were going to, despite the fact that they had knowledge that this attack was coming and that they had given orders not to let there be hostages by any means necessary. And the reports are, and from pictures which you look at damages, hold on, let me see if I can find it. You know what? Let's just go deeper into AI. Instead of just me talking nonsense or, Investigations by Israeli and international media have documented specific operational orders issued on October 7th that some have termed a stand down or at all costs order. The order, at approximately 11:22, the IDF Gaza Division issued a command stating that not a single vehicle can return to Gaza. So they're alleging that there was a stand down order, that the Hannibal directive was called, yet somehow they still managed to get away with over 250 hostages that were not getting returned, despite the fact that tens of thousands of people were getting slaughtered. Intent. This was an invocation of the Hannibal directive, a protocol intended to prevent the abduction of soldiers even at risk of their lives. The outcome: investigations by Harrods and the UN Commission of Inquiry found that this led to Israeli forces, including tanks and helicopters, firing on vehicles and buildings, resulting in the deaths of at least 14 Israeli civilians and several soldiers. How many people did the IDF soldiers, how many Israeli and American citizens did the IDF soldiers actually shoot and kill that day? Conspiracy theories and testimonies. The phrase stand down order is also used in unverified claims that the Israeli government or military leadership deliberately allowed the attack to happen. Unverified soldier testimonies. Some former soldiers have claimed on social media and podcasts that they were ordered to cancel patrols or stand down hours before the attack began. Official findings. Most established fact checkers and news outlets characterize the events as catastrophic, intelligence, and operational failure rather than a deliberate conspiracy. Misinformation. Analysts note that claims of a coordinated 6-7 hour stand down order from leadership lack of credible evidence and are frequently categorized misinformation. Now, I just want to point out, when they talk about official findings and misinformation and conspiracy theories, just remember what they were telling us and what Google was telling us about those Einstein files for years.
6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. Wow. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. The whole country is.
And you could tell that Charlie Kirk was very upset about this. Like the way he spoke, the way he he wasn't just going along with it. He wasn't going to go along with the narrative. He wanted to keep asking questions.
Yeah. And you're trying to tell me that they're going to concerts and kibbutzes and schools and by reports 6 hours. Let's say it's 3 hours.
That's suspect. Go ahead, Rob.
It's also not like a right-wing reporting. This is from the New York Times. The long wait for help as massacre unfolds in Israel.
9
I can't think of a more liberal news outlet than the New York Times.
And by the way, I'm actually very pro-Israel. So let me be very, so I'm not exactly.
Well, I think we all are.
No, I just want to make sure my position is clear here. But so Patrick, there are other explanations. It's possible that the Netanyahu government was double-crossed by bad agents. Okay? That's dark, but it's not as dark as what we're talking about, okay? Another aspect is that Netanyahu might have traitors in his government, like legitimate traitors that have infiltrated. I was texting with some senior people in the IDF, and they said, Charlie, can't say too much, but let's just say the same problem you have with the left in America, we have here in Israel.
See, why do you think he was talking to that person? I think Charlie was asking questions. I think when this happened, Charlie wanted to find out. And in his mind, he's thinking, how is this possible? Like, what could have happened? What could have went? Like, I'm just trying to think about what was going through his mind. That I feel like Charlie was trying to like process everything and come up with the different scenarios of how this could have happened. And he's making phone calls and he's talking to people and he's asking questions. And when he gets on front of a camera, he's like, no way, I don't believe it. Was there a stand down order? I want to know. That needs to be asked. After processing the other scenarios and going over and analyzing it and talking to people, that's the first thing that came out of his mouth.
So there's something to think about. Just something to think about, right? Is that maybe there's some people within those intel agencies that aren't as sympathetic. Or maybe, Patrick, maybe they might have gotten a tip. They might have gotten whispers, but no one thought it would be 1,200 Jews dead. That's a potential, right? Because here's the essence of it. The essence is this. This is the closest thing to the Holocaust that any of us have lived through. But the fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard-right government has a mandate. I got to be careful the way I say this. They're going to try to ethnically cleanse Gaza.
Yep.
I don't think he was that careful the way he said it. I think he just told it like it was. God bless, buddy. Rest in peace.
I mean, I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people.
This is why I can't believe he's still alive, by the way. Not making any implications, not trying to say that, oh, you know, they did this. But the whole, he faked it, it's a psyop, the world is a stage, this and that, I don't buy it, man. I'm not completely ruling it out that it's impossible, you know, but put it this way. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. Nah, you know what? I'll say it. I think there's a better chance that Charlie Kirk is still alive than that Tyler Robinson was a lone shooter. But I do not believe that he is still alive. That's the best way that I know how to put it.
From there, okay? And honestly, they have a mandate to go seek justice and revenge. They do. This idea that they need to have a truce or a peace treaty, that's morally crap after you see women and children be burned alive and dragged to the streets. But
mind you, look at this. He has that strong position where he's asking the questions, was there a stand-down order? But even Charlie wants justice. He's sympathizing with the people of Israel, and he's like, oh, hell no. Hell no. Like, this is it. This is war. That's what I'm getting out of this. Now, I think as time went on and he saw the extent of the damage, that he started asking more questions again. And in his mind as a Christian, it's, you know, but at this point in time, his initial reaction to what happened on October 7th was that he knew they wanted justice and he wanted to know what happened, and he did not believe the narrative, and he wasn't afraid to say it.
Some serious questions here, Patrick. And let me tell you, my pattern recognition over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right.